That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And tonight, we're here to talk about The Night.
Tonight? You usually say today.
Today, it is night.
It is nighttime.
It's the third film directed by Kourosh Ahari, which will be available courtesy of IFC Midnight, January 29th, 2020. It's notably the first U.S. Production that will receive a theatrical release in Iran in over 40 years since the revolution.
This was an interesting movie. The more I thought about it over the past 2 days, the more I liked it.
Good.
So the net result is that I do really like this movie. It's set in modern time in Los Angeles. It's about a married couple, Babak and Neda. So Babak and Neda have a newborn child, a boy, a girl.
It's a girl.
A girl. Okay, so we find them at a friend's house. It appears they've spent the day just socializing when night falls and they decide to head home. We understand that the drive should only take 30 minutes, but the navigation is acting weird. The couple, like, they're kind of fighting, and
well, he's drunk.
He's also been drinking and driving when they say that they've been driving for hours and they're still not home. So they decide to stop at a hotel, the Hotel Normandy.
Just, on Wilshire.
Which I did recognize, it was a hotel near us. They check in. It's a creepy scene. It's night. There's no one around. There's an interaction with a homeless gentleman. The front desk agent's pretty creepy. They are told that the only room available is a 2-bedroom suite. They check into that. It appears there's no one in the hotel. And from that point, like, the middle third of the film is just sort of like weird things happening, which basically amounts to a young boy, like a 5-year-old boy, sort of taunting. And taunting is a very, like, a light use of that word. Just kind of like following around Neda, and then a woman is sort of stalking Babak. Night doesn't seem to end. Like, they've been up all night long. There's an interaction with the front desk agent again. They attempt to leave, but Babak forgets his keys. So while he's upstairs, Neda is outside with her child when she interacts with the bum again, who now speaks Farsi and tells her basically the truth will set you free.
I think he says they hear the truth, the morning comes.
Yes. So if she tells her truth, then the sun will come up tomorrow.
And actually, before they even try to vacate the hotel, they call the police.
There is a scene with the police, yes, which we'll dive into. But so she realizes that she needs to sort of air out her dirty laundry to her husband. And she does. And the secret is he immigrated to the United States and Neda was left in Iran. And before he left, he got her pregnant. But because she didn't know when he would be back or when she could go to the US, she decided to have an abortion and never told him.
And once she says that...
And once she says it, the lights turn on.
Like Beyonce says, turn the lights on.
Oh, turn the lights on. So now she's imploring him to tell his truth. And the woman who's like the ghostly figure, she's not a ghostly figure, it looks like a straight up woman just following him around. You know, clearly there's something about her that he needs to say, but he refuses. There's a point when, like, they're running around because something's following them and the baby goes missing, where Babak accidentally stabs Neda. And even at that point, he won't tell the truth.
Well, and in between there, he figures out an alternative way through the bowels of the hotel out. Like a loophole. So he doesn't tell his truth, but we find out in the opening scene when they're at their friend's house. The friend, like the husband of the friend, is a doctor. And they have an interesting exchange early on where Babak makes a comment like, you're a doctor, like, how bad can it be? All you do is like play with needles. And the doctor gets upset and says, like, you don't know what it's like to stay up till 3 a.m. And then, you know, I had this patient come in, this woman, and like I tried to save her and I couldn't.
and then he goes to tell.
He's about to lean in to say something, and they're
interrupted
by Neda. Yeah.
But what we understand is most likely Babak was having an affair with this woman that the friend knew about, the doctor, and it's that woman who came into the hospital and died. So the end of the film is Babak like refusing to tell the truth. When they first enter the hotel, he sees a portrait of a man staring at his reflection, but he's staring at his own back. So like he can't look himself in the eyes. So then we see Babak, after he's clearly not going to tell his truth, look in the mirror and then turns his back on himself. And then the final scene is Babak wakes up like it was all a dream. The end.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of a fun movie in its ambiguities, and while I think there's a lot of heavy lifting in kind of parsing through some very subtle hints that I think we get, it's, I don't know, not a challenging film, but an intriguing film.
Yeah, the symbolism's heavy-handed.
No, not all of it.
You don't think so?
No, we're fed very subtle clues. Some things are very heavy-handed, but some things are also so subtle that...
Okay, Babak has a toothache, so to me that's like, okay, the lie is eating away at him. We didn't mention...
There's the tattoo.
Babak and Neda get tattoos, matching tattoos on their forearms, and then because the party or the socializing at the beginning of the film, Neda is with like two ladies. And they're all in the kitchen, like preparing kebabs or something. And Neda exposes her tattoo, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I got that today."
Both of us got
matching, one. It looks like a circle that's been cut in half, and each have the symbol.
But very intricate patterns.
Very intricate, yeah. And it looks fresh, like it's kind of red. And then Neda says,
"Like it should be covered."
Like it should be covered. And then the friend's like, "What does it mean?" Neda says, "I don't know. I just picked it out of the book because it was nice." But then as the film goes on, they kind of expose their tattoos, and they're starting to look like they're bleeding, which I think means like the truth seeping out of them.
And what is used to transition from, we see a specter haunting him in the hallway of the morgue, and then he stabs the tattoo, and that is what instigates him waking up in bed. And it was a nightmare, but it wasn't. Because that's when we realize he's not able to look himself in the eye, much like the portrait. Which
I thought that symbolism was very obvious. I think the hotel is just like this edifice for the lies within their relationship, and I think it's very effective, but it's pretty...
I don't know that it's expecting us to do, but what I meant by the heavy lifting is Farhad at the very beginning mentions this girl died, and there are so many small details that you need to be paying attention.
Because we watched the film and then we had a lot of questions, so we had to go back and rewatch sections. So yes, you're right. There were details that I think if a person missed, you would be confused. Because when we finished it the first time, I didn't like the movie because I missed two major plot points. And I was paying attention 80%, which is good for me. So you really have to pay attention to this movie.
I think that, so this is premiered in 2020 at the Santa Barbara Film Festival. It's Kourosh Ahari's third film, of course. He gets a major Iranian star in Shahab Hosseini to star as Babak, who of course won Best Actor at Cannes for The Salesman, the Asghar Farhadi film. Where was I going with that? Oh, the early, it's gotten a lot of praise, and the poster art, there's somebody calling it Kubrickian. In the fact that it's set in a kind of haunted hotel, much like The Shining, where these people are stuck, I think I wouldn't go so far as to call this a Kubrickian film, but of course it has passing nods within the film to The Shining.
Well, and a married couple with a kid, and their relationship strained. And
yes, but it's not quite at that level.
Oh, no.
Although there are a lot of things I did like about it. I think the tattoo mechanism is a little kind of almost sloppy and underwhelming, except that we're meant to put a lot of things on that ambiguity. But I think it serves to unite these couple that have become estranged due to these secrets, and because it had to be that day, that's when everything comes to fruition for them.
I'm gonna go down my list. In the beginning, Neda, one of her friends, this lady with red hair. That poor lady, this actor, her hair is so fine and so thin, and they have it down. Whoever styled her needed to wrap that up.
She's meant to be. They also have her at odds because she doesn't speak Farsi and is kind of
an outsider.
She's more Americanized compared to them because these others are Iranian Americans that have come to the U.S. And as a side note, I think it's interesting that, and I think you can go get into the abortion tangent as well, but a continuing series of films made by Iranians outside of Iran, like A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night and Under the Shadow, just genre element films that can never possibly be made in Iran, but that are also telling stories that are mired in that culture, I think is an interesting way around the restrictions in that country.
So some plot points, like when Neda and Babak leave the party and he's drunk, but then and she's saying you shouldn't be driving, and then he's telling her, well, you have a suspended license, so you shouldn't be driving either. I was thinking neither of you should be driving.
Right. Especially when their friends are like, stay the night.
And then their friend has a beautiful home, and they have their baby in the car. Well, a big pet peeve of mine is when in film, when a person's in their car driving and they're using their phone to navigate instead of like Apple CarPlay, that really bothers me. Because they were driving a Jeep Grand Cherokee and that car definitely had Apple CarPlay. I know it's a function to because the navigation starts to act weird, like it's possessed. So I'm assuming that was part of like.
And I think that's where like another one of the arguable elements of the film that kind of are a little crunchy.
It is.
To get where you need to go.
Yes. So the scene with the cop. So Babak calls the police because he feels like they're being harassed, which was a very frustrating scene because even I was thinking what the cop was thinking. Like, I mean, you have nothing to give me. Like, so you just think someone's bothering you, but there's no one in this hotel. I don't see anyone. You didn't see them. And then the cop gets frustrated with them. You made a good point though, that maybe it demonstrates like cultural, like there's some cultural significance to maybe why they're not speaking up the way they should to this police officer. And then the police officer's frustrated and is like, well, I'm like, like I can't help you. But then someone knocks on the door, and when Babak goes to answer the door, it's the police officer again. And I think that's the first glimpse of us knowing fully that there's something, like they're in an alternate dimension.
And that both of them are.
And that both of them are witnessing it.
Because previously that mechanism is used where he's downstairs talking to the wife only to go back upstairs and find her in bed, and he left the kid with the woman downstairs.
Right.
It's not her.
I think the more I think about this film, the more I like it, because initially I thought, oh, how lame and sad that like this woman like literally is being haunted over the choice she made with her body to terminate her pregnancy. And then you brought up the whole thing about this subject matter maybe is what allowed
it to get the license to play in Iran.
Right. But I do think it's effective because we all have secrets, and to some it might be like, if you tell me your secret, I'd be like, oh, please, like just tell that shit, no one cares. But to you, it's like, this could end my world. And I think that the story does a good job of demonstrating how two people's secrets really are eating away at them. So it worked for me after I thought about it more.
I also think that it's doing a lot of things with not doubling, but more so as reflections and mirrors. Obviously, with the final shot, which is a homage to the painting we saw. Also, another Stephen King reference. There's a shot like that in Dolores Claiborne, where Jennifer Jason Leigh looks in the mirror and she's staring at the back of her head because she's not staring at the truth of herself. But
I also thought it was funny, like men are such trash. And Babak, like he would literally let his wife die, kid go missing before this fool will tell the truth. And I actually like that because it was very frustrating to watch this man like, dude, all you have to do to save your family is just tell the truth. And you can't do it. And your world is falling apart.
Right, and then his loophole of like going through the bowels of the hotel to find the back
But that felt very relatable to me. Like, I mean, we all lie, so I feel like I can definitely relate to like playing, you know, what a tangled web we weave. All the cliched sayings apply to this, but it works.
I agree. Yeah. Going back to the reflections thing as well with the mirror images, the room.
Christina Aguilera's, she has a Spanish language album called.
I'm not.
Mi Reflejo, I think, but whatever.
I'm not really as familiar with her catalog as you are. They're stuck. They're placed in room 414, which is like a number that's a palindrome, you know, forwards and backwards. And I think that the woman that's haunting him was like his woman in America. That when Neda finally came over, he had to leave her. And it leaves the backstory with this woman very ambiguous, except for that we see her body in the morgue to...
Oh, that's so interesting you say that, because I thought the room number in the hotel is 4414, which if you add those numbers up equals 13, which is unlucky.
I thought it was 414. Maybe I wrote that down.
But that's a very interesting interpretation, because I immediately thought, oh, 4414 is totals the number 13.
Which is also creepy. I guess
But I really like that. If it is 414, I like your interpretation better, but that's interesting that you brought that up.
But even...
I'm 95% sure it's room 4414.
But even if that's not it, I think that is playing with reflections also.
The room number definitely has some significance because of the way the front desk agent said it. That's why I remembered.
And it must be right behind the Hotel Normandy sign, because you can see the neon lights blinking in there, kind of like in Berlin at Alexanderplatz. Since our attention is directly called to the portrait that is aped in the end. There's another picture in their room of like a fancy fox, which also made me think of Lars von Trier's fox in Antichrist that speaks and says chaos reigns.
Oh, okay.
I was hoping they would play on that.
What would you give this film?
Are you done with your notes?
I mean, this video is getting long. We could wrap it up. If you have more, go ahead.
Well, I thought Shahab Hosseini does quite a good job.
Oh yes, we should talk about the actors. Go ahead.
I did really like him, even though I do think the film does drag a little bit in the middle. That like it's an hour 40, or like it's like 10 minutes could have been cut from that. We do get George Maguire, who is a character actor who plays the hotel clerk and was the lead in Ahari's last film, Generations. Of course, he's creepy. His dialogue
was low.
On point, and also that they flash back to it about being caught in the quicksand. The more you struggle, the more you sink. But I do really like Hosseini. You had more of a problem with Niousha Noor than I did. This is her debut.
She's a beautiful person.
I wrote down mezzo soprano.
I think her acting, I'm not going to say her acting wasn't good. I think it didn't match her husband's acting. She seems more like a soap opera actor, and he seems more like a serious dramatic actor. So I just wanted her character to be played more confidently, like, because even when she just seems kind of like this, like, I don't want to choose my words carefully, but like, she just seems like a harpy. Like,
she reminded me of a lot of female characterizations I've seen in Iranian cinema,
But then maybe it's just a cultural, like an unawareness that I have. But I didn't think her acting was as strong as the man's.
She is a bit more over the top, but again, I think it's in a very familiar style to where her character would be coming from anyway.
Sure.
I don't know. I think it's almost more fun to talk about than some of the film experience is.
Yes.
I like how it looks. Maz Makhani was the cinematographer who also shot recently Princess of the Row.
The scene where the couple is driving from the friend's house to where ultimately the hotel. There's like a cool. It looks like a drone is following them. Mm-hmm. I thought those were some really cool shots.
Yeah, it looks.
I think
good.
The film as a whole looks good.
The minimal like special effects with that specter in the elevator, I thought that all looked really good. And again, it really does have a kind of an unforgettable final sequence that, again, the last several minutes kind of make up for a dead zone. But
another Stephen King reference.
Yeah.
What would you give this film?
3 out of 5.
I would give it 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.